The stars twinkled peacefully in the night sky above the Rocky Mountain Observatory. Diane Miller adjusted her telescope, checking the readings one more time. For 5 years, she had searched the cosmos for signs of other life. Tonight, something was different. "Paul, come look at this," she called to her colleague. Paul Richards sighed and put down his coffee. He was tired after a long shift and wanted to go home. "What is it this time, Diane? Another false alarm?" "I don't think so." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled as she stepped away from the monitor. "Look at these readings. They're not natural." Paul leaned forward, his eyes widening as he studied the screen. The signal pattern was unlike anything they'd seen before. Regular, repeating, clearly artificial. "I'll call it in," he said, reaching for the phone. "But the higher-ups will probably say it's just satellite interference again." 3 hours. Later, the observatory was filled with government officials. Diane and Paul watched as their quiet workspace transformed into a crisis center. "The objects are approaching Earth at an incredible speed," Diane explained to the stern-faced general, who had arrived by helicopter. "At first I thought they were asteroids, but they're slowing down. Asteroids don't slow down." Across the world, other observatories confirmed the findings. 7 massive objects, each nearly a mile long, had entered the solar system and were decelerating as they approached Earth. By morning, the alien ships were visible to the naked eye, dark shapes against the blue sky like floating islands. They positioned themselves above major cities: New York, Beijing, Moscow, London, Rio de Janeiro, Cairo, and Sydney. News channels broadcast non-stop footage as people filled the streets, looking up in wonder and fear. In the White House Situation Room, the president addressed the emergency meeting. "Have they made any attempt to communicate?" "No, Madam President," replied the Secretary of Defense. "They're just watching. Keep trying all frequencies, and make sure our military assets are ready, but do not make any aggressive moves. The last thing we need is to start an interplanetary war due to a misunderstanding." Meanwhile, on the USS Independence in the Pacific Ocean, Captain Frank Martinez noticed strange lights descending toward the California coast. "What do you make of that, Lieutenant?" he asked, handing his binoculars to the young officer beside him. "I've never seen anything like it, sir," replied Lieutenant Sam Baker. "It's not one of ours, that's for sure." Captain Martinez made a quick decision. "Change course. Head for San Francisco Bay at top speed." "Sir?" questioned the navigator. "You heard me. Something's happening, and I have a feeling those people on shore might need help soon." The ship turned, cutting through the waves toward the coast, where the strange lights continued to descend. In homes around the world, families huddled around televisions and computer screens. Social media exploded with theories, prayers, jokes masking fear. Churches filled with worshipers while others looted stores preparing for the worst. Diane Miller had been flown to Washington, D.C. to brief officials. She sat in a crowded room, exhausted but unable to rest. "In my professional opinion," she told the assembled officials, "their technology is far beyond ours. The precision of their movements, the size of their vessels, they've mastered space travel in ways we can only dream of." A general snorted. "That doesn't mean they've mastered warfare. We have nuclear weapons." "Which we should absolutely not use," Diane shot back. "We know nothing about them. They could be peaceful." The debate was interrupted when an aide rushed in. "They're broadcasting something. It's appearing on every screen worldwide." The room fell silent as they turned to the large monitor on the wall. The screen showed a creature unlike anything they had seen before. It had grayish-blue skin, 4 eyes set in a wide face, and spoke through a vertical slit where a human mouth would be. "People of Earth." The translation appeared in text below the alien's image. "I am Commander Vextha of the Zornax Empire. Your planet is now under our protection and control. Resistance is unnecessary and unwise. We have studied your broadcasts and understand you are divided into nations. These divisions end today," the commander continued, his 4 eyes blinking in an unsettling pattern. "You will disband your military forces within 24 Earth hours. Prepare for integration into the Zornax hierarchy. Your resources and labor will serve the Empire, and in return, you will receive the benefits of our superior civilization. The broadcast ended abruptly, leaving stunned silence in its wake. In the Situation Room, the president stood. Get me every world leader on a conference call. Now. As governments scrambled to respond, ordinary people reacted in different ways. Some fled cities, creating massive traffic jams. Others formed impromptu resistance groups. Many simply waited, unsure what to do in the face of such an unprecedented event. At a small police station in Chicago, Chief Karen Washington addressed her officers. I don't care what planet they're from. Our job doesn't change. We protect our community. A young officer raised his hand. But Chief, what can we do against aliens? Karen's expression was determined. We do what humans have always done when faced with bullies. We stand our ground. We use our brains. And we fight if we have to. In his garage in suburban Ohio, former science teacher Alan Grant took apart his ham radio, reconfiguring it while the news played in the background. His wife watched nervously from the doorway. What are you doing, Alan? He didn't look up from his work. Their ships must use some kind of communication system. If I can figure out what frequencies they use, maybe we can listen in. Maybe we can do more than that. Captain Martinez's ship approached San Francisco Bay, where one of the smaller alien craft was hovering over the Golden Gate Bridge. Through his binoculars, he could see people running in panic. Battle stations, he ordered quietly. Load weapons, but do not fire unless I give the order. Sir? His executive officer said hesitantly. This could be considered an act of war against a vastly superior force. Martinez lowered his binoculars. It's already war, XO. They just declared it. And I don't care how advanced they are. Nobody threatens our home without a fight. In orbit, Commander Vextha received reports from his subordinates. The humans appear confused and frightened, Commander. Some are fleeing their population centers. Vextha made a sound that in his species passed for laughter. As expected, their transmissions showed them to be emotional and divided. They will accept our authority quickly. His second-in-command was more cautious. Should we perhaps study them further before proceeding? Some of their military capabilities are primitive compared to ours, Vextha interrupted. We've conquered 12 worlds with this same approach. Overwhelming force applied quickly breaks all resistance. He turned to his war council. Prepare the first assault. Target their city called Chicago. Show them the futility of resistance. The order went out, and attack ships began their descent toward Earth. The invasion had begun, and the aliens were confident of swift victory. They had no idea what they were about to face. The morning dawned gray and cold over Chicago. Smoke rose from several buildings where the Zornax had struck during the night. Their attack ships hovered like giant metal wasps above the city, occasionally firing strange blue beams that turned concrete to dust. Police Chief Karen Washington crouched behind an overturned bus watching as 3 alien soldiers moved down the street. They were tall, with 4 arms and armor that shimmered like oil on water. They carried weapons that looked like twisted metal tubes. Ready? She whispered to the group of officers and civilians beside her. A former construction worker named Bill nodded, his hands tight around a length of pipe. Ready, Chief. Karen gave the signal. From windows and doorways, people emerged and threw bottles filled with gasoline. The Molotov cocktails exploded around the aliens, who shrieked in a high-pitched wail that hurt human ears. Their armor protected them from serious damage, but they were confused by the sudden attack. In that moment of confusion, Karen and her group charged. They had learned from earlier encounters that the aliens, while strong, had poor vision and bright light. Someone triggered a set of construction floodlights, temporarily blinding the Zornax soldiers. The fight was brief and violent. When it ended, the humans dragged the alien bodies and weapons into a nearby parking garage. Their armor is tougher than last time, Karen said, examining one of the fallen soldiers. They're adapting. So are we, replied Officer Pete Ramirez, showing her how he had modified his shotgun with parts from a captured alien weapon. Each time we take one down, we learn something new. Across the city, Similar scenes played out. The Zornax had expected to find terrified humans hiding in their homes. Instead, they found an enemy that fought back from every shadow, using the urban landscape as a weapon. In Ohio, Alan Grant made a breakthrough with his modified radio equipment. He picked up strange signals from the alien ships and noticed they changed whenever the ships used their weapons. "There's a pattern," he told his wife, excitement making his voice shake. "Their communication and weapon systems are linked somehow." He sent a message through a network of ham radio operators that had formed in the days since the invasion. Within hours, his findings reached military leaders who were regrouping in underground bunkers. At the Pentagon's alternate command site, Colonel Lisa Blackwood reviewed the information. She had been studying the Zornax attack patterns for days, looking for weaknesses. "They're too systematic," she told her team. "Look at this footage from Chicago. They always use the same approach. 3 soldier teams, advancing in straight lines, breaking into buildings from the ground floor up." A young analyst spoke up. "It's like they're following a manual." "Exactly," Lisa said. "Which means they can be predicted. They don't adapt quickly at the tactical level. Each time they face a new situation, there's a delay while they receive new orders." She pointed to a map of Chicago. "See how they've concentrated on the downtown area? They assume that's where our leadership would be. They don't understand that humans can organize without formal central command." In San Francisco, Captain Martinez had turned the USS Independence into a floating base for resistance fighters. The ship's guns had managed to take down 2 smaller alien craft that ventured too close to the water. "They avoid the ocean," Martinez noted. "I think they're uncomfortable over water. Maybe their equipment isn't designed for it, or maybe where they come from, there aren't large bodies of water." He used this knowledge to coordinate with other naval vessels that had survived the initial attacks. Ships around the world became safe havens, moving constantly to avoid detection from above. In space, Commander Vextha was growing frustrated. He paced the bridge of his command ship, his 4 eyes blinking in an angry pattern. "How are these primitives still resisting?" he demanded. "It's been 7 days. By now they should be begging for mercy." His science officer, Zill, displayed images of human resistance fighters. "They're using very simple methods but with surprising effectiveness. They've even managed to disable some of our ground troops and take their weapons." "Impossible," Vextha snarled. "Their technology is centuries behind ours." "Technology isn't everything," Zill said carefully. "They know their terrain, and they appear to have a remarkable ability to improvise." Another officer interrupted. "Commander, we've lost contact with Squad 17 in the Chicago sector." Vextha slammed all 4 of his hands down on the control panel. "Send in the heavy assault vehicles, level their structures, show them what happens when they defy the Zornax Empire." On Earth, the first of the large alien tanks appeared in Chicago. They moved on 6 legs like giant insects, crushing everything in their path. Buildings crumbled under their advanced weapons. Karen Washington watched from a distance, her heart sinking. "We can't fight those with pipes and shotguns." But even as she spoke, a teenager named Zach, who had joined her group, was studying the walker through binoculars. "Look at how they move," he said. "Those legs have joints just like real insects. And what happens to an insect when it can't use its legs?" Karen looked at him. "It gets stuck on its back." A slow smile spread across Zach's face. "My dad was a cable repair guy. I know where we can get lots of strong wire." Within hours, the plan spread through the resistance network. Teams of people strung heavy cables between buildings at specific heights. When the alien walkers moved down the streets, their legs became entangled. Some toppled over, unable to move. Others had their leg joints snap under the strain. In Ohio, Alan Grant made another discovery. By broadcasting on certain frequencies, he could disrupt the aliens' communications. It only worked for a few minutes before they adjusted, but those few minutes gave resistance fighters a crucial advantage. Colonel Blackwood received reports from around the country and began to see a bigger picture. "They're strongest when they can dictate the terms of engagement," she told her superiors. "But they fall apart when faced with unconventional tactics. We need to fight like guerrillas, not like a traditional army. The president, operating from a mobile command center, approved Blackwood's strategy. Tell every fighting unit, no pitched battles, no holding territory, hit and run, use their expectations against them. On the Zornak's command ship, Vextha received more bad news. Walkers 3 and 4 have been disabled in Chicago, Commander. How? Their armor can withstand your primitive weapons. They didn't use weapons, they used cables. Simple metal cables to trip them. Vextha was silent for a long moment. Then he turned to his science officer. Zil, I want a full study of human behavior patterns, all historical records of their conflicts. There's something we're missing. Zil hesitated. Commander, perhaps we should consider that our initial assessment was flawed. These humans are more resourceful than any species we've encountered before. Nonsense, Vextha snapped. They're just animals with basic tools. Find their weakness. Every species has one. As the sun set over Earth, the first day of full-scale invasion ended not with human surrender, but with unexpected setbacks for the Zornaks. In homes and hideouts, on ships and in bunkers, humans began to realize something important. The aliens might have better technology, but they didn't understand who they were fighting. And in war, understanding your enemy could matter more than having the biggest guns. 3 weeks into the invasion, John Peterson stood in his barn in rural Montana, watching the alien scout ship fly overhead. It wasn't the first he'd seen. The Zornaks were expanding their search for human resistance fighters beyond the cities. John returned to his task, carefully wrapping bandages around the arm of the injured pilot lying on a bed of hay. You should have left me out there, the pilot said weakly. They'll track me here. Not likely, John replied. I pulled the tracking device from your flight suit, buried it 5 miles west of here. They'll be looking in the wrong place. The pilot, Samantha Cox, had ejected from her fighter jet after engaging an alien craft. Against all odds, she had managed to shoot it down before her own plane was hit. How did you know about the tracker? She asked. John smiled slightly. Been a farmer for 30 years, but I was Air Force pararescue before that. Some things you don't forget. Outside, John's border collie started barking. He grabbed his shotgun and peered through a crack in the barn door. A Zornak's patrol, 6 soldiers in formation, was moving across his field, heading toward the house. Stay quiet, he whispered to Samantha, and get ready to move if needed. He slipped out the back of the barn and circled around through the irrigation ditches that crisscrossed his land. The aliens moved like soldiers on parade, maintaining perfect formation, even across the uneven ground. John could use that predictability against them. He reached the control panel for his irrigation system and turned it to maximum pressure. Water erupted from sprinklers across the field, creating a wall of spray. The aliens hesitated, their sensors confused by the sudden change. John used the distraction to take out the 2 rear soldiers with his shotgun. The remaining 4 scattered, finally breaking their perfect formation. Now the real hunt began. By nightfall, all 6 aliens were dead and John was loading their weapons into his truck. We need to move, he told Samantha, helping her into the passenger seat. More will come looking for these ones. I know some people in the mountains. Old survivalists. They've been preparing for the end of the world for years. I guess it finally came, Samantha said. Just not the way they expected. Halfway around the world in Seoul, South Korea, Grace Kim stared at lines of code on her computer screen. The power had been out for days, but her apartment building had a backup generator, carefully hidden from alien patrols. Got something? She said to the international group of hackers connected through a makeshift network. There's a pattern to their ship movements. They're following programmed patrol routes. Can we predict where they'll be? Asked a hacker from Germany. Better, Grace replied. I think we can feed false data into their navigation systems. Make them think they're following their routes when actually they're going where we want them to. The group worked through the night building on Alan Grant's discoveries about Zornak's communication frequencies. By morning, they had created a virus that could infiltrate the aliens' network. Deploy it, ordered the German hacker. Let's see what happens. In London, Schoolteacher William Brown led a group of children through underground tunnels. They had been hiding in the subway system since the invasion, moving constantly to avoid detection. "Remember to stay quiet," he whispered as they approached a ventilation shaft that would take them to a new section of tunnels. One by one, he helped the children climb up. Suddenly, they heard the mechanical sounds of alien troops above. "Back, down," William urged, but it was too late. A small boy named Eddie was already at the top of the shaft, visible to the aliens. William made a split-second decision. He pushed past the other children, climbed up, and pulled Eddie back down. Then, instead of following, he emerged from the shaft and ran in the opposite direction, drawing the aliens' attention. "Follow the plan," he shouted down to the oldest girl. "Get them to the meeting point." The Zornak soldiers pursued William through the streets of London. He led them on a long chase before they finally cornered him in an abandoned warehouse. "Surrender, human," ordered the patrol leader. William stood tall. "I surrender. Just me. I was alone." The aliens took him to an interrogation center they had established in what was once the Tower of London. There, a Zornak scientist named Krell was tasked with studying human prisoners. "Why did you run?" Krell asked William. "You must have known you would be caught." "To save the children," William answered honestly. Krell's four eyes blinked in confusion. "You sacrificed your freedom for young who are not your offspring?" Any decent person would do the same. The concept seemed to puzzle Krell deeply. Later he reported to Commander Vextha. "The human social bonds extend beyond their immediate family groups," he explained. "They will take significant risks for others with no genetic relationship." "How is that advantageous to survival?" Vextha demanded. "I don't know," Krell admitted. "But it makes them unpredictable. Their decision-making isn't based solely on self-preservation or logical advantage." In orbit, Vextha detected a small human spacecraft approaching one of his command ships. It was a primitive vessel, clearly retrofitted from an old space station module. "Destroy it," he ordered dismissively. "It's on an impact course," reported his second in command. "Moving too fast to intercept." Impossible. No species would sacrifice pilots on a suicide mission, but the human spacecraft, piloted by astronaut Maria Gonzalez, continued on its collision course. At the last moment, a small pod ejected from one side. The main craft slammed into the Zornak's vessel, causing significant damage to its propulsion systems. Meanwhile, the ejection pod, containing Maria, used Earth's gravity to begin a controlled descent to the planet. In his command center, Vextha raged. "They knew they couldn't penetrate our shields with weapons, so they used their entire ship as a projectile, and they had an escape plan." He turned to Krell. "What kind of species are we dealing with?" Krell's report was troubling. "One that values group survival over individual survival. One that plans for contingencies we would never consider. One that improvises constantly." On Earth, Colonel Blackwood received reports of the successful space mission. "Now they know we can hit them anywhere," she told her team. "Even in orbit, we keep the pressure on." Messages flew across the Resistance network. In Montana, John Peterson and Samantha Cox reached the mountain hideout, bringing alien weapons to be studied and replicated. In Seoul, Grace Kim's virus caused 2 Zornax patrol ships to collide over the Pacific Ocean. In London, the children William Brown had saved reached a Resistance safe house, carrying valuable information about alien patrol patterns. Small victories were happening everywhere. None decisive on its own, but together they created a picture that was becoming clear to both sides. The Zornax had made a critical error in their assessment of Earth. They had seen humans' technological limitations but missed everything else that made the species formidable. As night fell on the 23rd day of the invasion, Vextha called his war council together. "We need to end this quickly," he announced. "Prepare the planet killer. We will make an example of Earth that the rest of the galaxy will remember for millennia." But even as he gave the order, Grace Kim's network of hackers intercepted the transmission. The humans now knew the aliens' ultimate plan, and they had just enough time to prepare their response. 6 months into the invasion, Earth looked very different. Cities lay partially in ruins, but they were not abandoned. Humans had adapted to life under alien occupation, creating hidden communities in subway tunnels, sewer systems, and basement. Networks Colonel Lisa Blackwood now operated from a mobile command center, never staying in one place for more than a day. She studied reports from around the world, noting the progress humans had made against the invaders. Their losses are increasing, she told her team. Our hit-and-run tactics are working. They can't adapt fast enough. A communications officer handed her a tablet. Message from Captain Martinez, ma'am. Lisa read it and smiled. The Pacific Fleet just took out 3 more of their supply ships. Martinez figured out that their vessels can't detect our submarines if they run at minimal power. They really don't understand underwater warfare, do they? Asked one of her lieutenants. They evolved on a desert planet, Lisa replied. According to the information we've gathered, the Zornak's homeworld has very little surface water. They never developed naval tactics because they never needed to. In his laboratory in Ohio, Alan Grant had assembled a team of engineers and amateur radio operators. Together, they had refined his discovery about electromagnetic disruption. The new jammers work for 15 minutes before the aliens can compensate, he explained to a group of resistance fighters. That's 5 times longer than our first versions. He demonstrated a device no bigger than a shoebox. Plant this near any Zornak's communications hub. When activated, it will disrupt their entire local network. How many of these do you have? Asked a fighter. We've built over 200, Alan replied, and sent the plans to resistance cells around the world. People are making them with parts, from old microwave ovens and car radios. The Zornaks, meanwhile, were struggling to adapt to the changing nature of the conflict. In his command ship, Vextha received increasingly concerning reports. Another patrol lost in Sector 7, a junior officer reported. And we've lost contact with the research base in what they call Australia. What happened? Vextha demanded. Unknown. The base went dark 12 hours ago. The rescue team we sent has also disappeared. What Vextha didn't know was that in the Australian outback, a small force led by Aboriginal guide Nancy Cooper had used the harsh terrain to their advantage. They had studied the aliens' movements for weeks, noting how the Zornaks struggled in the extreme heat and dust of the desert. Nancy had guided her team through secret water routes known only to her people. They approached the alien base from a direction the Zornaks thought impossible to traverse. They don't understand this land, Nancy had told her fighters. They see only emptiness and danger. They don't see how it lives and breathes. Using the jammers built from Alan Grant's designs, they had disabled the base's communications. Then they used mirrors to reflect the harsh sun directly at the aliens' sensitive eyes, blinding them long enough to place explosive charges at key points. When the rescue team arrived, they fell into carefully prepared traps, sinkholes that appeared solid until weight was placed upon them, revealing deep pits below. An entire battalion of Zornak's troops was lost without the humans firing a single conventional weapon. Vextha slammed his 4 hands on the control panel. How are they doing this? They're primitives. His science officer, Krell, had spent months studying human behavior and history. Commander, I believe we made a fundamental error in our assessment. Humans have been fighting wars against each other for their entire history. They've developed tactical thinking that doesn't rely on technological superiority. Nonsense, Vextha snapped. Their weapons are primitive. Their vehicles are laughable compared to ours. Yes, Krell agreed, but they utilize what they have, with remarkable creativity, and they learn extremely quickly. Look at this analysis. Each time we develop a countermeasure to one of their tactics, they change approaches within days, sometimes hours. The planet killer will end this, Vextha said dismissively. It will be ready in 14 days. But the Zornaks no longer had secrets from humans. Grace Kim's network of hackers had deeply infiltrated their systems. From her new base in the EI, mountains outside Seoul, she coordinated with teams around the world. We've confirmed the planet killer is real, she told the resistance leadership over a secure channel. It's some kind of gravity weapon. Once deployed, it will create an unstoppable chain reaction in Earth's core. Can we disable it? Asked Colonel Blackwood. Not remotely, Grace replied. The weapon systems are isolated from their main network. We'd need physical access to their flagship. That's impossible, someone said. Maybe not, Lisa mused. Martinez's submarines have been studying the energy patterns of their shields. They flicker for exactly 3.8 seconds when they launch or receive shuttles. In San Francisco Bay, Captain Martinez received the plan with a grim nod. A suicide mission? Not necessarily, replied his executive officer. If the team can get inside during that shield flicker, and if they can complete their mission before being detected, there's a small chance of extraction. Martinez looked at the assembled volunteers, a mix of military personnel and civilians with special skills. I won't order anyone to go. No need, sir, said Samantha Cox, the pilot who had been rescued months earlier by John Peterson. We're all volunteers. John himself stood beside her, his farmer's hands now skilled at handling alien technology. My grandparents fought in World War II, he said simply. Some things are worth dying for. The human counterattack was planned. For 3 days before the planet killer would be operational, teams around the world would create distractions, drawing Zornak's attention away from their flagship. Dr. Oliver Thompson, a physicist who had been studying captured alien technology, developed a device that might disable the planet killer. It's based on their own principles, he explained. It should create a feedback loop in their main power system. As the day approached, resistance cells worldwide prepared for what might be humanity's last stand. But there was no fear in their preparations, only determination. In London, children who had been saved by William Brown's sacrifice months earlier now helped distribute supplies to fighters. In Australia, Nancy Cooper trained more teams in desert warfare tactics. In Chicago, Karen Washington's police-turned-resistance fighters prepared for their largest operation yet. Captain Martinez gathered his strike team on the deck of the USS Independence. We've learned a lot about the Zornaks in 6 months, he told them. But the most important thing we've learned is about ourselves. They thought we would break easily because we argue among ourselves, because we're divided into nations and factions. What they didn't understand is that those differences make us stronger, not weaker. We think differently. We approach problems from different angles. And when threatened, those differences don't matter. We stand together. As dawn broke on the day of the counterattack, millions of humans worldwide prepared to fight for their planet. The Zornaks had superior technology and weapons, but humans had something the aliens had never encountered before: the unbreakable will to protect their home, no matter the cost. The morning of humanity's desperate counterattack arrived with a blood-red sunrise. Captain Martinez stood on the deck of the USS Independence, watching his team make final preparations. The small craft that would carry them to the Zornak's flagship had been built using parts from captured alien shuttles, modified by engineers working around the clock. Final systems check complete, reported Samantha Cox, who would pilot the craft. We're as ready as we'll ever be. The team consisted of 12 people: Samantha and John Peterson, Diane Miller, who had first spotted the alien fleet, Paul Richards, who had worked with her at the observatory, Karen Washington from Chicago, Grace Kim, who had flown in from Seoul, Alan Grant with his jamming devices, Dr. Oliver Thompson with his feedback weapon, and 4 Special Forces soldiers who had been fighting the aliens since day one. Remember the plan, Martinez told them. You have a 90-second window to get inside their shield when they launch their patrol ships. Once inside, you have approximately 15 minutes before they detect you. Grace will hack their systems to locate the planet killer. Alan's jammers will buy you more time. Dr. Thompson needs 3 minutes to set up his device. And if we succeed? Asked one of the soldiers. Get back to the shuttle if you can, Martinez said. If not, he didn't finish the sentence. Everyone understood the stakes. Around the world, the coordinated attack began. In Australia, Nancy Cooper led her teams in an assault on a major Zornak base. In Europe, resistance fighters activated jammers near every known alien communication hub. In orbit, the remnants of Earth's space agencies launched their few remaining satellites on collision courses with smaller alien vessels. The The Zornax were caught by surprise at the scale and coordination of the attack. Vextha rushed to the bridge of his flagship. "Status report," he demanded. "We're under attack on multiple fronts, Commander," his second-in-command reported. "Communication hubs are failing across the planet. 3 support vessels have been damaged." "Launch all patrol ships," Vextha ordered. "Crush this pathetic rebellion once and for all." As the patrol ships launched, the shield around the flagship flickered exactly as predicted. The human shuttle, piloted with incredible precision by Samantha, slipped through the opening and docked against the hull near a maintenance airlock. "We're in," Samantha reported over the secure channel. "Beginning entry procedure." The team cut through the airlock and entered the massive alien vessel. Grace immediately connected her modified tablet to a data port. "Give me 2 minutes," she whispered as her fingers flew across the screen. Their security architecture is complex but predictable. The others formed a defensive perimeter. Alan placed jammers at strategic points to block internal sensors. "I've got it," Grace said finally. "The planet killer is 3 levels down, central core, and I've mapped a route that should avoid most patrols." The team moved quickly through the ship's corridors. The alien architecture was strange. Oddly angled hallways, doors that spiraled open rather than sliding, and lighting that pulsed in patterns uncomfortable to human eyes. They encountered 2 Zornax technicians and had to subdue them quickly. John Peterson, using techniques he had learned during months of fighting, took them down silently. "They still haven't improved their close combat training," he noted. "They rely too much on their weapons." When they reached the central core, they found the planet killer, a massive device that hummed with energy, surrounded by control panels. "It's even worse than we thought," Dr. Thompson said after examining it. "This won't just crack the planet. It will collapse Earth's core into a miniature black hole." He began setting up his device while the others stood guard. On the bridge, a technician reported to Vextha. "Commander, internal sensors are detecting anomalies near the core." "The humans have infiltrated the ship," Krell said immediately. "It's their pattern. Distract us with a large attack while a small team targets our weak point." "Impossible," Vextha snarled. "No primitive could penetrate our shields and navigate our ship." "They've done exactly that," Krell insisted. "I've studied them for months. This is precisely how they would respond to the planet killer." Vextha finally accepted the possibility. "Send all security teams to the core and activate the weapon now, ready or not." In the core, alarms began to sound. The planet killer's components began to move, energy building visibly. "We need more time," Dr. Thompson said, working frantically on his device. "You'll have it," Karen Washington promised. She and the Special Forces soldiers took up defensive positions at the entrances to the chamber. The first wave of Zornax security forces arrived and were met with withering fire. The humans had learned to target weak points in alien armor, joints, visual sensors, and communication devices. Alan activated his remaining jammers, causing the aliens' weapons to misfire. Grace continued to hack their systems, sealing doors remotely to slow reinforcements. 2 more minutes, Dr. Thompson called. The fighting intensified. One by one, the human defenders fell. Karen took a hit to her shoulder but kept firing. 2 of the Special Forces soldiers were killed. John Peterson looked at Samantha. "If we don't make it back, someone will," she replied, "and they'll tell the story." Finally, Dr. Thompson called out, "It's ready. Activating now." He pressed a series of commands on his device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the planet killer's energy field began to fluctuate wildly. Alarms blared throughout the ship. "It's working," Dr. Thompson shouted above the noise. "The feedback loop is disrupting their power systems." The surviving humans began to fall back toward the maintenance airlock where their shuttle waited. They carried their wounded and moved as quickly as possible through the increasingly chaotic ship. On the bridge, systems were failing across the board. "Shut down the weapon," Vextha ordered. "I can't," replied the weapon technician. "The systems won't respond." Krell looked at the readings and understood immediately. "The humans have created a feedback loop in our main power system. If we don't eject the core, the entire ship will explode." "Do it," Vextha ordered reluctantly. The human team reached their shuttle just as the Zornax ejected their power core. The massive energy source tumbled into space, its containment field flickering. "Get us out of here now," Grace shouted as they sealed the shuttle door. Samantha piloted the craft away from the flagship at maximum speed. Behind them, the power core exploded in a blinding flash of light. The shockwave caught the shuttle, sending it tumbling, but Samantha managed to stabilize it. The explosion disabled the flagship and several nearby Zornax vessels. Without their commander and main weapons, the alien forces across Earth found themselves suddenly without direction. 3 days later, the remaining Zornax commanders gathered for an emergency council. "The planet killer is destroyed," one reported. "The humans disabled 5 of our capital ships. Our ground forces are taking unsustainable losses." "This was supposed to be an easy conquest," another complained. "These primitives were supposed to surrender immediately." The highest-ranking survivor, Subcommander Lurath, made a decision. "Send a message to the fleet. All forces are to withdraw immediately." "Withdraw? Without conquering the planet? We've lost over 40% of our invasion force to a species that doesn't even have interstellar travel," Lurath replied. "The cost of continuing is too high." As the Zornax ships began to rise from Earth's surface and the massive vessels in orbit turned away, humans emerged from hiding to watch their departure. On the deck of the USS Independence, Captain Martinez received the surviving members of the strike team. Only 7 had made it back, all wounded to some degree. "You did it," he told them simply. Dr. Thompson shook his head. "We just showed them that humans aren't easy prey. That's all." In the following days, the last alien ship disappeared from Earth's skies. Before leaving, they transmitted a final message, broadcast on all frequencies worldwide. "To the species known as humans, your planet has been reclassified. Previous assessment: primitive, suitable for conquest. New assessment: extremely dangerous. Conquest not recommended. Further contact is discouraged." As nations began the long process of rebuilding, Colonel Blackwood met with world leaders. "They'll be back eventually," she warned, "or others like them will come. We need to be ready." For the first time in human history, countries united around a common purpose, preparing Earth for its place among the stars, not as an easy target, but as a world others would think twice about threatening again. On a hill overlooking the rebuilt Chicago skyline, Diane Miller, who had first spotted the alien fleet, stood with Paul Richards. "Do you think they learned their lesson?" Paul asked. Diane smiled. "I think so. Next time they'll study us first."